Could you say your name and explain your role within NORAD and also your role within NORAD Tracks Santa?
Absolutely. So I'm Colonel Justin Elliott, and I am the Chief of Operations for NORAD and U.S. Northcom. So my daily job is to run operations, all current and future operations for this combatant command, and to defend North America. And then for NORAD Tracks Santa, it's a pretty relevant role because that Chief of Operations job is exactly the role that Colonel Shoup was sitting in
Hmm.
back in 1955 when he received that very first phone call, which is the head of the operations center
Hmm.
that receives calls for defense.
Speaking of that, can you give a rundown of how the NORAD Tracks Santa program begun?
Yeah, it's an incredible story. So if you go back to 1955, and this is before NORAD was even formally designated as NORAD, which was in 58. But back in 1958 or 1955, excuse me, we still had our operations center up and running. And the guy that sits in my job right now, Colonel Shoup, received a phone call from a kid asking to track Santa and asking where Santa was and if he needed to go to bed. And it was a mistake. You know, the kid did not mean to call NORAD's operations center. He meant to call a Santa hotline.
Hmm.
Nonetheless, Colonel Shoup received the call and went with it. He thought it was amazing and realized that he did, in fact, have the technology to track Santa. And so he started reporting that back. And it has grown ever since over the last 70 years until we get where we are today, which is a really massive outreach enterprise from NORAD.
Yeah, I bet. Speaking of that, how does NORAD track Santa? What is the technology behind it? And are there any higher tech systems that you use now that you maybe did not use back then? Like, has Santa gotten any more sophisticated to track over the years?
That's a great question. So we use, big picture, we use the exact same technology
Hmm.
that we use to defend North America across the US and Canada every single day. So the
Hmm.
other 364 days a year, we're using a combination of radars to get tight tracks on objects that move throughout our airspace. And we're using overhead sensors, i.e., space based sensors, which track heat sources. Here's where this is fascinating. When you're looking at Santa specifically,
Hmm.
those things come together very well. Santa is very, very fast, which makes him a pretty good radar track. But probably my favorite connection is if you look at Rudolph's nose
Hmm.
and how hot that thing has to be to clear fog, that provides a really good space-based track for the same sensors we use to track missile motors.
I
And
bet.
you asked, have things changed? Well, Santa has not changed. He'll make minor
Hmm.
route adjustments, but big picture, he does exactly the same thing every year. And our tracking technology has not had to update for him. We like to say here that he allows us to track him.
Yeah.
He's got magic we don't have, right? So if he
Yep.
wants to disappear, he probably could, but
Hmm.
I think he enjoys it as much as we do.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there any sort of tease, since you guys are celebrating your 70th anniversary, a tease for the 70th anniversary that could be shared, or if the program has any new content, new tracker content for this year, like maybe an increase in the number of Santa cameras along Santa's journey, or anything you can maybe think of?
So for the technology side, we haven't changed much. What we have done is expand our ability to reach out to the entire globe. So,
Mm-hmm.
what started as one child back in 1955 expanded to North America and then, greater
Mm-hmm.
continent area. Now what we do, year 70, we are manning our operations center literally 24 hours of
Mm-hmm.
December 24th from the international date line all the way around. And we're doing it in 200 different languages this year, which means
Wow.
we fully expect to receive calls, right at midnight on December 24th from around the world. And
Mm-hmm.
we're able to translate that and get you an accurate track on Santa. So our two main ways that you can reach us are noradsanta.org, where you can already play games and get involved. And then once his journey starts, you'll see that online.
Mm-hmm.
But the most fun way is to call us at 1-877 Hi NORAD, where you'll talk to a live operator in whatever language you speak.
That's awesome. Could we expect an upgrade to the tracker itself this year in regards to UI, additional features, or will it operate differently in some fashion this year? I know NORAD does a really good job adapting to Santa's route with some changes we see every year because he's always changed his route at least a little bit. But are there any new ways for NORAD to adapt to his whereabouts to improve stop detection or show more cities? I know he goes so fast, so it's really hard to do that. But anything like that?
We haven't changed much as to the way the user interface is going to
Yeah.
portray to people, which is why
Hmm.
the best data you're going to get is to actually give our ops center a call. But that
Awesome.
said, just to highlight a few features, I mean, it's not just going to show where he is, but it
Hmm.
actually shows how many gifts he's delivered,
Awesome.
because we can actually see that fall rate out of the sleigh, and it's exciting to watch what new routes he creates every year.
I bet. Speaking of routes, uh, does Santa plan the route plans with NORAD? I know every once in a while he seems to get a major route shift. Is that something NORAD knows beforehand? If so, do you expect more changes this year, or are you just kind of going with the flow, just tracking him, and we'll see what happens?
Yeah, I wish he would read us in. I really do. Um, because it's an adventure every time.
Yeah, I
Here's
bet.
what we know for sure. He takes off out of the North Pole, of course, and
Of
he does
course.
that very early on the 24th.
Yeah, launch
He'll
time.
fly
That makes
down
sense.
the
Yeah.
international date line, and then he'll start this zigzag. And
Hmm.
roughly, we can characterize it as this north-south zigzag as he moves westbound,
Yes.
following the time
Okay.
zones, right? So
Yeah.
he's following nighttime, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially when it gets to the Europe area, very dense population out there, you see some pretty interesting patterns.
Hmm.
And he doesn't tell us that that's about to happen.
Okay.
So we follow with our sensors and we do our best. And when he gets into North American airspace, that's where it gets a lot of fun because now
Hmm.
we've got our aircraft in play as well. So our fighters are able to get up there and sometimes, when he allows, fly along next to him and give him a wave.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of that, has NORAD has collected any information about Santa, excuse me, himself, or any experiences the military has encountered with Santa that could be shared, with either escorting him into Canadian airspace with those fighter jets or the E-3 Sentry over the Pacific towards the end of his journey? Is there any experiences that you've encountered with the big man?
So our fighter pilots, it's one of those things where anyone who works on Christmas Eve is doing it for the greater good, right?
Yeah.
And our fighter pilots are in exactly that situation. Same with our E3 pilots. It's Christmas Eve for them too, but they're
Hmm.
up there. And one of the main reasons that they enjoy working that night, despite the holiday,
Hmm.
is so that they may have that one-off chance to actually have a live
Yeah.
encounter. And it has happened. Last year, our two-star general, General Radiff, and now General Moore, both of whom were experienced fighter pilots, have had visual encounters with Santa Claus.
That is
So
awesome.
it's pretty amazing moment for them. I wish I had had one personally, but working in the headquarters, I've not been up there with him. But
Yeah.
the stories are awesome, and kind of like I said earlier, when you look at Santa's technology, which is it's frankly magic,
Hmm.
beyond human comprehension. We
Yeah.
don't understand how he goes as fast as he does. We don't understand how he's hitting effectively speed of light.
Yeah.
We call it speed of starlight, but same thing.
Yeah.
We're talking speed of light rates here.
Yeah.
If he allows an intercept from a Mach 2 fighter jet,
Hmm.
it's because he's letting it happen,
Yeah.
right? So it's a pretty magical moment when we escort him. He knows we're there, and we're not tricking anybody. He wants us to be there for that
Yeah.
moment, so it's good for our guys to
I
see.
bet. Just to actually touch on this, do you have any opinions in terms of Santa? In terms, does he use the space time continuum? Do you think does he time travel to get around the world? Or what are your personal thoughts on that?
So what we see is, and you can actually watch this on the app. It
Hmm.
looks like physical movement. It does
Okay.
not look like warping. We
Okay.
don't, at least, nothing that I couldn't allocate to a short sensor dropout.
Hmm.
We see a track that looks like physical motion.
Okay.
Yeah, it starts at a point, it moves in a line,
Okay.
it does things, it moves in a different line the other way. So we're not seeing warps through
Hmm.
space in the time space
Yeah.
continuum. We're just seeing what I would just characterize as unbelievable velocities.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, and when you start getting into the actions that have to be taken at those velocities, we don't have a physical explanation for that. It's
Hmm.
possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the world famous question from our viewers: what time will Santa get to my
Yeah.
house?
Yeah, that's the one, right? And
Hmm.
I think here's a safe bet. A safe bet is to be in bed by 9 p.m.
Okay.
That is reasonably in every time zone. We see it starting around 9 p.m.
Hmm.
and then ending somewhere in the vicinity of midnight. So yes, there's a window there. It's
Hmm.
not a gamble I would take. What we've seen is if he hits your time zone, kids are still awake, 9 p.m., tries to get there, isn't able to get there because kids are still awake. And we've seen like absolute adherence to that. He will not deliver at your house if you're not asleep.
Mm-hmm.
He will revisit though.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, we'll see a revisit back to a region that maybe some people were awake for his first attack. After that, though, we don't know if he's going to make that third try. So no
Yeah.
kidding, nine to midnight, and I would lean forward on that for kids and get to bed by 9.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, what is your favorite memory being involved in the NORAD Tracks Santa program?
Oh, it's receiving calls from around the world. You can't really pinpoint just one, but it is, every time I work in that operations center and take calls from around the globe on this topic specifically, it is a reminder that the world is inherently good,
Mm-hmm.
and that Santa Claus does not see the international boundaries that we draw on maps. He
Correct.
just sees kids and people who deserve that joy, and you really see that when you're taking calls from the entire Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did hear about the web-based calling on the NORAD Tracks Santa site. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep, it's still, you can either call through the app or you can use the phone number. Either way, you're going to reach a ability for us to translate for you. So that's
Awesome.
really what's new. It's on our side, generally
Mm-hmm.
speaking. It's just the way we were able to answer those phones that has changed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and do this interview. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
what
it.
you do.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you helping us spread the joy.
Of course. God bless and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.